What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon, and I'm back at you another one. What up to all my thugs, nerds, geeks, and freaks? We are back with you, a first edition of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier review, recap, and I know it says that we're only going to do episode 3, but since we were not able to get to the first 2 episodes, we're going to do all those more right off the bat. All right, so let's do it. And as always, when I'm rocking with Marvel, you know I got my co-host with. Phil is indisposed right now. He just got the shot, the coronavirus shot. So if he can make it, he will. But we have Alicia, as always, rocking with us doing the Marvel. Hello, Alicia. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fine. I am fine. I am anxious to talk about this show.
I'm anxious to talk about Bucky.
I'm sure you are. The thirst is real with this one, people. The thirst is real. All right. And she admits it. I mean, it's not like people looking at it and say, Tony, can't be calling out like that. This is she said this to me. Her words. All right.
I like to be transparent in general.
All right. Yeah, we're gonna go through the first 3 episodes. We're gonna take it from the top. First off, overall views before we get to episode 1 of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You.
Oh. Sorry, I looked and I saw that Gray was in the chat and I'm like, yay. And then I got distracted from what you were saying. Oh, right. We missed Phil already. Okay.
On this show.
Overall review, there are quite a few elements that I like. I'm not going to lie to you and say that if Bucky wasn't in it, I would watch it purely for enjoyment. At the moment, I feel like I'm watching it to keep up with Marvel canon. However, it's not a bad show. I enjoy it. I just didn't enjoy this past episode as much as I did the previous 2. But I actually think it's very well done.
Yeah, I think that it is a typical Marvel show. And though people, I don't want people to take that as a good thing, because it's what I expected from a Marvel show. When they said they're doing all these shows, this is the type of show I expected them to do. When I look at the history of Marvel shows, this goes right along with them. And to me, it's okay, but it's not special. It's not WandaVision. And we could talk exactly why it's not WandaVision, but it's okay. It's a typical week to week villain of the week reveal, cliffhanger at the end show, and that's what it seems like to me. You're getting the same thing. You're gonna get the you're gonna get the banter between them, a little action sequence. They're gonna throw somebody in there you don't expect, and then throw somebody in there at the end you don't expect, and end it. And they do it. They did it every episode so far, and for that reason, it's just truly not that exciting for me. All right, so the first episode, let's go into it, is, them dealing with Cap being gone, right? Them being there, and Falcon saying that he has to turn over the shield because it's the right thing to do, and then them putting U.S. agent in the place of the new Captain America. How did you feel about that? Now, the Sam part, him showing his family and everything else, how did you feel like they portrayed that?
There are certain elements of dialogue between him and his sister that, like, I love that they're expanding on his character. I love that. I think that Anthony Mackie is a very good actor. I think he's a very charismatic actor. I think he's hilarious. I think we're drawn in to care about the things that he cares about. It's just sometimes the dialogue is a little clunky with his sister, because while I think she's a good actress, I don't know if he has good sibling chemistry with that actress, because I feel like a lot of the time when they have discussions with one another, it's not so much that it isn't the way that siblings kind of talk to each other when they're like, well, mom and dad left us the boat, da da da. It feels really forced. So while I'm really enjoying the expansion on his character, I'm not super sold on the dynamic between the 2 siblings. So it kind of seems clunky to me.
Yeah, I could see that 100%. They don't have the best chemistry, both of them. I don't know if they, how long they had to prepare before they got there, or if they read together. I would think they would read together before they cast him, and they should have seen that from the beginning. But I think they were going for a certain look, a black person in there, like they wanted a darker skinned woman to be his sister. I think she fits the bill, and I do appreciate them putting more black people out there. I do appreciate that, and I appreciate him not having that ugly chin strap beard that he had in the last Avengers, because he in Avengers Endgame, because he definitely fucked his beard up. I know. Listen, I've had my beard look like that, his beard, and that is when you fuck your shit up and you have no choice, but you have to have something on your face. Mm-hmm. That's what his beard was. So I'm glad he got his beard right. And I do think he's a good actor. And I think that he holds down his scenes very well. He does the transition to comedy very well. He's good on that. And we're going to talk about Bucky, but what I didn't like is this. This is something I did not like about this, is the shield situation, especially the shield technique situation. Like, how could they throw that shield as good as Captain America threw that shield? Like, to me, you have to be a super soldier to throw that shield and make it bounce and ricochet and come back. I mean, Spider-Man says it when Civil War, this doesn't obey the laws of physics, this shield, the way it goes. Mm-hmm. These are normal human beings. Not only does Falcon throw it around and it bounces all around, but this is a normal guy, U.S. agent, a normal dude who's able to bounce this shield all around, all crazy like that. I don't understand how these people get this shield technique. And I don't appreciate that damn shield technique like that. I don't like them just being able to do it. That's what made Captain America special, because he was able to do it because he had super strength and everything else. If any normal person could just pick up a shield like that and do it, then anyone could be Captain America. And I think that's the way it's presented, and I don't like the way they did that.
Right. It was a source of confusion for me. I think they tried to explain it a little bit with talking about what peak physical condition that John Walker is in. And then it shows him, like his reflexes are great. And then it shows him throwing the shield. And I think one way of trying to bridge that gap is when Cap throws the shield, it's not like he doesn't throw full force into it ever, but it's kind of like a toss for him a lot of the time, where when you see the previews of Sam throwing it, and now that the show has commenced, I really do think that like those scenes are from the end of the show when he finally gets the shield back. But when you see Sam throw it, and when you see John Walker throw it, they put their whole, they put all their strength into it. I guess I wasn't as bothered by the whole shield thing, but it does kind of take away from what makes Captain America so special. But I know that he was, you mentioned Spider-Man in Civil War. When Tony recruited Peter Parker, he told him two things, which is he thinks he's right, and that's what makes him dangerous. And he also said, go for the legs. So I know Captain America's whole thing is like all the aerial parkouring that he's doing. But I don't know. In general, I just don't like this John Walker asswipe walking around with Cap's shield. And you're not supposed to like it because, the characters in the show don't like it. But I'm trying to do mental gymnastics to make sense of it, because there are other things I don't have nice things to say about in the show. So
yeah, and he looks weird in the helmet. I mean, it just doesn't fit his face right. I don't know exactly what it is. I can't call it, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's just not. It doesn't fit his face right. I don't know if they did that purposely to say, hey, he's not Captain America, but it truly doesn't fit his face right.
I think it's his chin, because Wyatt Russell is, I think he's handsome. I don't think he's as handsome as Chris Walker, but it's not like he's not, but he has a very distinct chin. And Chris Evans himself kind of looks a little silly in the helmet, but like you said, it's a Marvel show. I don't know if they're throwing as much effort into the helmet when he's supposed to, it's like Steve Rogers is Chanel, like Coco Chanel, and then like John Walker is supposed to be Walmart. So I don't know if they're going to throw as much effort into it, but I really do think it's the whole like, chin and then the chin strap thing, because he does in the helmet, he looks like the old dude from Up. Like, that's the only thing going through my head. So
He looks terrible. It looks like he shopped at the Pocket Change Exchange in the mall. Like he got like this guy just had booty across his butt.
that poor man. But yeah, I think we are supposed to, maybe it was done purposefully, because I know, like, I haven't watched WandaVision. I think is the only Marvel show that's not animated that I have watched. But I know that what the distinction is, these shows are meant to be canon, where like never mind, I watched The Runaways. Like, these shows are maybe canon if it's convenient to them down the road, very loosely, but it's not canon to the MCU. Versus, wait, never mind, I've watched a ton of Marvel shows. I'm dumb. I've never watched Agents of Shield, but it's like, we'll make it canon if it's convenient down the road. But WandaVision and Falcon Winter Soldier are canon. So I do think they put more effort into the production. I don't know how costume design goes, but if I were creating a character that we're meant to kind of be like, look at this bitch breathing with that shield on his back. Look at how he fucking eats crackers. This bitch. Like, I would not put a whole lot of effort into trying to make him look cool in this costume, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, you see it like this guy, this John Walker. You see, like, it's like him and his boy, you know what I mean? And it's like the reverse. It's a reverse, right? So you have John Walker and his sidekick, right? So you have a white guy who's leading and then a black sidekick. And then they did the reverse thing right here. You have Sam, and this is Sam's show. They have a black guy, and then they have the Winter Soldier as his sidekick. So they just reversed the races on them both. And it seems like they're playing superhero. Like, it's a game to them. You know what I mean? Like, you see them on that scene when they're on there with the truck and they're fighting, and then the guy like falls off the truck, and then he throws the shield down and catches him. He's like, yeah, like, you're doing it. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, these people are shooting guns at you. These are super soldiers. It's like they're playing game, and the guy's sliding back on his butt like this, like, yeah, you got me. You know,
it was that whole truck scene was very underwhelming for me. Like, this is, I think, the first time I started to feel some sort of way about how they're sloppy about things. Is Bucky was the fucking Winter Soldier, like a one-man fucking army for what, 70 years or so, and he gets pulled up onto the top of the semi, and they're holding his arms, and he's just like, oh no, don't know how to get out of this situation until Sam comes in and helps me. You know, that was unrealistic to me, that he was just sitting there getting pummeled in the stomach. And, you know, like, Sam is a very capable hero, but Sam doesn't have that, like, super soldier strength. Like, I would expect Bucky to easily get out of that situation, whether because the thing is, yes, these are super soldiers. However, they're laymen in a sense. They're just little vigilantes running around. We don't know enough about their story to know if they've had as much formal training as Bucky. So that part disappointed me, because I'm like, so you mean to tell me he's sitting here like cartoonishly getting his ass kicked and he's not able to? Okay, cool. But that whole truck scene was just weird. And then when Battlestar, God, I fucking hate that name. When Battlestar and U.S. Agent John Walker came along, and they came off of when they got off of the helicopter, it's very subtle, but John Walker practically like lands on the semi and does this. You know, like, we're here now. Like, it's, you're supposed to fucking hate the very air they breathe, and they're doing a really good job of delivering it. However, like, I have more loathing for John Walker than I do for Battlestar. Hoskins?
Yeah,
is that his name?
Yeah. I mean, they don't give him enough for you to hate him yet. You know what I mean? So it's really nothing there. Let's talk about the Winter Soldier, and to me, the dumbing down of this guy and the depowering of this guy. As you said, this is the fucking Winter Soldier. If you watch Captain America versus the Winter Soldier, he was unstoppable. He was like the Terminator. Literally, no one could say he kicked Captain America's ass, Black Panther's ass. No one could stop this dude. And now all of a sudden, He got to hold on to the truck with his legs. He ain't got that same spirit that he had with that animalistic. This guy was as straight assassin as you said, a one-man army, a one-man gang. He was unstoppable. That's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
And they have made him comic relief.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it was Civil War, I'll tell you exactly what happened. If he would have been if this was Civil War and he was on the bottom of the truck, he literally would have took his arm, stuck it in the concrete, and stopped the whole truck. The whole truck would have just stopped and just flipped over, and he would have flipped out of it and been okay. Now all of a sudden he can't do it, and he has a more powerful arm now, a vibranium arm now than he had before. So how all of a sudden is this guy? Sam has to come to his. He kicked Sam's ass up and down. Sam got his ass kicked by Ant-Man. Yes, pretty easy too. You know what I mean?
See, I kind of wonder if it's some of it is just sloppy writing, the powering down. Another part of it is too, I think he's holding back quite a bit. And I think that, you know, and we'll get to this part in the third episode, but when he played the part of the Winter Soldier, it's deep, which was anyway, it's deeply implied that he, like, Zemo was basically like, oh, that was pretty easy for him to fall back into that role. You know, like it's this hesitation with him to really, really go there. Like he's trying to figure out who he is as a super soldier without being Terminator, as you put it. And that leads to a lot of holding back. However, they don't always write those scenes very well.
You can't hold back when your life is on the line, right? So I could see him if he was in a regular situation thinking stuff like that. But the fact that this motherfucker is hanging on the bottom of a truck and his life is on the line, I would think you would do what you did. You know what I mean? This guy jumped out of that top of that building all the way across like nothing. And Captain America said, like, they have dumbed him down and they depowered him. And there's no way around it. There's no one who could say anything different. He's supposed to be like Captain America with a vibranium arm, which makes him better. You know what I mean? When he was fighting Iron Man, you know, him and Cap, that was a fucking battle they was fucking going at it with Iron Man. This does not look like the guy who could fight Iron Man. This looks like
even within Civil War, something I may or may not watch that particular sequence over and over at times. I don't know. Tony started out attacking Bucky, and Bucky was choosing not to fight Tony. Like, Bucky was trying to get Tony off of his back, but I don't think he was actually fighting Tony until Tony turned on Captain America. When Steve was like, he didn't have control, Hydra hijacked his mind, and Tony was like, I don't care, he killed my mom. And then they start fighting, and that's when Bucky was like, oh no, you don't. And then that's when, like, as everyone says it, they jumped an orphan child. You know, and he was like really going for it till he got that arm blown off. Which is a good segue into, speaking of Bucky getting his ass kicked, I love that back in the 1950s, he got his ass handed to him by a black super soldier. I just don't love what happened to that black super soldier after the fact. But I personally don't follow these storylines as closely as I do, like, the mutant storylines or WandaVision, you know, like, I didn't realize there was a black super soldier, and apparently it is in the comics, which I kind of wanted to discuss with you, because I know the first two episodes, I thought that the dialogue about what it is to be a black man in America was really well done. In this last episode, I thought that they laid it on a little too thick a bit.
They did. I mean, it was, well, when in the first, you know, with the second episode, when they got him, the cops confronting them. And the cops, they did everything. They did the cops confronting them. Then they went into the black super soldier the Tuskegee experiments. They started talking about that. So they tried to branch out everything, which is like, they had him going to the bank. He couldn't get a loan. You know, they did everything, that bad things that happen to black people. They put them through the ringer. But when they did do the storyline for the Black Super Soldier, it was taken from the Tuskegee experiments. I'm sure everybody in the chat, we have a lot of Black people in the chat, so I'm sure you all, I know all of them know about the Tuskegee experiments. But if people don't know what that is, it is when they were Black men who had syphilis and they were supposed to receive free health care. And instead of curing them, which they did have the cure, which was penicillin at the time, they did not give them penicillin. They gave them a placebo, purposely, the U.S. government, just so they could see how syphilis affects the Black man who has it for a duration of time. And it killed over 120-something Black people. And they did this not just for like 1 year or 2 years. They did this for almost 10 years before they got bagged up doing this. All right. So the person who wrote the story of the Black Soldier took from that, and that is the reason why he created that character to explain like that. This is the same thing they did how Luke Cage gets his powers, you know, and that's why I think that later on someone's going to get skin that's bulletproof, because they did the same type of experiment on Luke Cage, but they were using prisoners instead. And that's how Luke Cage got his powers as a form of the super serum version. You know what I mean? So that is what happened to them. That they hurt all these people. They put the disease in their body just so that they could see the effects on them. And so I like them drawing from real life history in the comic books and putting that in there. And that is the reason why today, straight up, like a lot of Black people don't want to get this shot, this virus, because a lot of Black people still to this day don't trust the government, especially when they're pushing for you to get something. It's, you know, they made a big effort to push that COVID-19. I'm not going to get into politics to Black people, and a lot of Black people think it's suspicious when they do that because of situations like that they denied for a long time, and then got caught and had to come clean with it and everything else. So I do like the way they did that, but yes, they are definitely playing up to the Black man experience in America when they have him not being able to get a loan, when they have him going out there and getting harassed by the police, and it ain't the Black guy who's got the warrant, it's actually the white guy that they're trying to protect that has the warrant. You know what I mean? And you see that with celebrities, Black celebrities, all the time. I remember there was I think it was James Blake when he was in Manhattan waiting to play the U.S. Open, and he was standing outside, and the cop came down there and tackled him and handcuffed him and everything. And then they figure out, oh, this is James Blake. And now it's, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Blake, we didn't recognize you, blah, blah, blah. But there was someone who fit your description, you know, that the old, you know, the old one, like Dave Chappelle said, oh, I could do this one by memory, Johnson. Big lips, eating a watermelon, dick hanging out. Yes, I know who. I know.
The part that felt sloppy to me is the fact that like some of the lines that they dropped were from Zemo, who is a white man. Like when Sam said something about, I feel like a pimp in this suit. And it's not like I don't like the line. I just think it's laying it on really thick. And that the line was dropped by a white man, I'm just like, okay. He said, only Americans think that a fashion progressive Black man looks like a pimp or something like that, you know? And then when they're on the plane and they're talking about Marvin Gaye, and Bucky's like, I like Marvin Gaye. he's too much. But like, it was Zemo that all of a sudden said something like, I really think that it really captures the Black man's experience or something like that. I'm like, yo, shut the fuck up. You know? So, I mean, like the fact that Zemo was all of a sudden just saying all this stuff about, you know, Black men this, Black men that, I'm like, now you're laying it on too thick, because it's like, I feel like this is something that needs to be voiced by the Black characters. I do love that. I think it's important when people who are not Black acknowledge this, both on and off screen. But I mean,
I think what they're trying to do is, like, a lot of times they try to make you seem like Europeans are more forward thinking than Americans, like they're not as racist as Americans. And I think that's what they were going, which is 100% not the truth. You could talk to any black soccer player who plays in Great Britain. All right, any black, and they'll tell you exactly their abuse. I remember the dude, they were throwing bananas. The guy was a star of the team, and they were throwing bananas on him. I forgot his name. They were throwing bananas at him. One of the best soccer players out there who played for their team. You know, racism is all over the world. I mean, obviously, look what just happened with Meghan Markle's, right? I mean, which she should have expected because her husband did dress up as a Nazi. But anyway, because we're not going to get into politics. I don't know how that's so shocking when her husband dressed up in his costume, right? But anyway, that's what they're going for. They're trying to say that Europeans seem to be a little bit more progressive than the white Americans here.
Which is so weird because they created the blueprint for everything that's wrong with American culture. So whatever. I guess what they can go with if they really want to is that Sokovian is a made up fucking country anyway. Like, but I mean, it was their episode 3 was enjoyable. Don't get me wrong. However, there were elements of it that just felt forced and sloppy. I know there was a lot of exposition, and the way they delivered that exposition was just like two human beings that are dialoguing back and forth with each other don't actually talk don't talk like that. And like, I think what sets Marvel apart from DC, like anytime you adapt a comic book, there are very inevitable corny fucking factors. You know, how do you get people to take comic books seriously, especially with like right down to the costumes and some of the names, like I'm Battlestar. I'm so glad that like back in the comics, no one's gonna think anything about a man named Battlestar, but like I love that Bucky within it was just like Battlestar. No, I'm getting on this fucking truck. You know, like Marvel is really good at acknowledging in universe, like this is campy, or like, okay, this is you know, the hug we're having, this is really weird. You know, they didn't do any of that in this episode. Like when they were talking to the scientist that supposedly created, you know, he made a new super soldier serum. All they wanted was like, who are you selling to? Blah, blah. And he starts going off. He's like, I made this serum and I was a god. No one gives a fuck. Who are you selling to? You know, it's like nobody, he did the supervillain monologue. And I'm like, did we really put a supervillain monologue that you would see on Super Fucking Natural on the CW, which I loved that show, but it's a CW show for a reason, you know? So, I mean, there was so much of the dialogue that disappointed me in this episode. I think the only part of the episode where I really enjoyed myself was when Bucky was in that club and he went into Winter Soldier mode, and I had to watch that part a couple times.
Yeah, even when he was doing that, it still wasn't the Winter Soldier that we had seen before. He should have been breaking these people up. It shouldn't even been close. It's goddamn Winter Soldier. It should be like when you seen Captain America in the elevator scene, right? And he's in there and he's like, "Do you guys really want to do this?" And they just do. And you see how he whoops those motherfuckers and kicks the shield and walks out. That's what Bucky was. Like that type of ass whipping. He that's what he was. And it's like he did not perform. It's like they give you. Like to me, it's like a kung fu show. You know what I mean? Like David Carradine. They walk into a different area, like the A fucking team. You know what I mean? And there's a problem, and then they got to solve the problem. They solve the problem. You get the one big action sequence from that, and then at the end, they're gonna have a cliffhanger to set you up for the next one. And then they have a reveal during this episode, which there was with the Shield woman. And they put her in there and stuff like that. And whoa, that was so obvious that she was coming in there. She was,
it was super obvious as soon as like someone was like, looks like you guys have a guardian angel. And I'm like, there's Sharon. But one thing I enjoyed about Sharon is like, I think Sharon went more Winter Soldier than Bucky did. When she used that dude as a human shield, I was like, fuck, on a Marvel show, we're going there. Like she is
like a human shield. She stabbed motherfuckers in the chest. She was great, you know, she was throwing a knife into him. Her action sequences were great. They were better than any ones that were in the show so far. She did a better job, and it looked more real. Like when you seen her face after she looked like she really was in the fucking fight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that her part was great. Everything she did was great, but I thought it was pretty obvious that they were going to run into her and everything else from what we've seen and stuff. But no, Sharon Carter, she did the fucking job. She saved the episode.
Yeah. Yeah. And what I loved about the fight scene is that there were elements of it that were realistic. Like there are certain movies that I like, action movies I love, like Sicario is actually one of my favorite movies because the action sequences, they're hard to watch, but they're so gritty and they're actually like how you'd imagine an action scene playing out, where most of it is just them like choking each other back and forth. Not that I don't love elaborate fight scenes back and forth, but there was one part where she like grappled a dude to the ground and she was trying to get the knife out of his hand. You know, it's so tempting in action movies just for them to be like 1 pound against the ground and I've taken the knife from you. Like she was banging that dude's hand against the ground to get the knife out of his hand a couple times. It was little details like that where I'm like, did I just become a Sharon Carter stan? Because before I didn't give a fuck about her at all. But like they're really making you like warm up to her. I really think her personality has changed a whole lot, which will happen when it didn't discuss whether or not, was she blipped?
I don't think she was blipped. I think she, but she got put, they didn't pardon her.
Yeah. Right? So she's been on the run for like 7 years. She even mentioned, I don't get to talk to my family right now. Like she's changed. Not that I dislike the change, but the only thing that Bucky did in that whole sequence that I'm like, yep, there's Bucky, is when he kind of threw that thing like a javelin, that pipe, and it went into the dude's shoulder. I'm like, I don't know if he's going to live through that. But, but like Sharon was definitely, she was very brutal.
Yep.
And speaking of brutal, because I know John Walker had said in the Jeep in episode 2 that the thing about the super soldier serum is that it destabilizes people's mental state. Like it makes them crazy. And then he looks at Bucky and he's like, no offense, which I thought was him being an asshole. But it has been briefly touched on how the super soldier serum can really fuck with people's minds, which is a huge reason why I can't remember I know it starts with an E. The original doctor that made Steve Rogers Captain America.
Yeah, I know. I can't think. It's like something Berg.
Yep. He chose Steve because of how great of a person Steve was, because he knew the serum would change their mind. So flash forward to Carly, and I mean, these past 3 episodes, we've been made to be in 2 episodes. We've been made to be endeared to Carly. Like we see her anguish. We see what she's doing for other people. There we go. Thank you. Thank you. We see how she's helping out other people. She's mourning for this mother figure. And then at the end, she blows up an entire building with a bunch of people about it. And her partner who is with her kind of condemns it. And she looks at him and she's like, this is the only language these people understand. So it's hinting toward her, like the serum's starting to get to her head because it shocked the person she's been working with this whole time. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's like, what? So it's definitely hinting toward Carly being a big bad.
She's black, right?
I'm pretty sure she's mixed.
Yeah, she looks like a sister. I mean, when I look at her, she looks like a sister. Like that. When I see her, I know a lot of redheaded sisters that look like that with the freckles and stuff like that. I thought she was a black chick. But I think what they're truly trying to set up when they're saying that and then putting it in there is that the U.S. Angel is going to get a dose of it, and it's going to make him even more angry. They're going to use that as an excuse of why I think it's kind of like, if anyone's ever done acid, not condoning doing acid or anything like that, but if anyone's ever done acid, they will always tell you that make sure you're in a good mood before you take acid, because whatever mood you in, it's going to heighten it to 100, right? So if you're sad, you could become suicidal. If you're angry, you can really hurt someone. If you're happy, you'll just laugh for fucking 8 hours, how long your trip lasts for. I think that's what they're saying, hinting at with the super soldier serum, that whoever you are on the inside, it's gonna make you, it's gonna bring it out.
Amplify.
And that's why
Yep.
you needed Steve to be the person he was, because you got to have a good person do it, because you're not as good a hearted person like that. You're gonna have someone turn into Homelander, and you don't want that, because I wish they did have Homelander on this fucking series. I love Homelander.
I think everybody would be dead. Homelander is a psychopath. But I mean, John Walker, the thing is, within the show, I can totally see him taking that serum and becoming unhinged, because he's already in a state where he's desperate. He
gets no respect. You see that, who I am, the guy spits right in his face. They're putting it to the point where he's just a regular guy. Like, he wants people. You know who I am? I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
So he's getting and he walks away. It's like nothing he could do, because he's still under the restraints of working for the U.S. government. He can't really beat the guy up. He doesn't have that freedom yet. So I think somehow he's going to get a vial of that stuff, and he's shooting himself right in the ass with it. And there's no doubt about it.
Right up the rectum.
Well, that's all shots. I think all shots go in the ass, right? At least I know steroids do. So I'm sure that
all shots go in that. Tony.
When I would get shots when I was little, they always stick you in the ass. Well, maybe it was just something.
I can confidently say I've never received a shot in the ass, but I do know it's done. I know that if they want a certain medication in your bloodstream a lot quicker, there are certain, and they're called routes. There are certain routes you can take, like along the cheek line. It's called buccal. I can't remember the exact pronunciation. Buccal, I believe. Up the rectum is a good way into your bloodstream, through the nose, yada, yada. So off kilter. Speaking of that serum and medicine, I think that the blowing up of that lab, it was too quick, too easy. So clearly there are still vials of the serum running around. But I do wonder about variations of the serum, because Red Skull and Steve have the same serum, whereas Bucky kind of has a cousin version of that serum, because is it Armin? Babies and animals in the booty. Thank you, Mara. Thank you. Because Bucky kind of had a bastardized version of the super soldier serum.
No one got the exact one except for Cap and Red Skull. That was like the one. And then after that, it's always been a diluted version of it. Like, they've always tried to recreate it, and they never could get it exactly as the same one. They can never get it that right. All the way up to a Weapon 10, which was Wolverine, and they still couldn't get it right. You know what I mean? They were still trying to get it and still trying to get it right. But the only reason Wolverine survived his experiment is because of his healing factor, when they placed that mantium on his bones and everything else. I wonder when they're going to bring mantium into the MCU. I mean, it's been a pretty long time. I would think they would bring mantium in, because
adamantium.
Yeah, because vibranium is not stronger than adamantium. Adamantium
really?
Is strong. Yes, adamantium is the strongest material that they have in the Marvel universe. Is adamantium. Vibranium is not. Vibranium just soaks up energy. It's adamantium. Wolverine's claws are stronger than anything made of vibranium. He can cut right through that. There's nothing. That's why, like, in what makes Ultron such a powerful villain is that his body is made of adamantium, and none of the Avengers could ever hurt him. And that's what makes him such a powerful villain in the comic books. Like, no one can hurt him. Everything bounces right off him because he's made of adamantium. So there's nothing they could do to stop him. So
I would say technically the Mind Stone was the only thing that was able to destroy Ultron in the end, I think, because Wanda already kind of he got a bit fucked up. And then Wanda came along, and we all know her power is amplified by the Mind Stone, and she destroyed his heart, and he was still kind of like twitching, kicking after that. And Vision ended up destroying Ultron. But once again, we're off. We're off the trail here. Super Soldier Serum.
Yeah, Super Soldier Serum.
But I mean, I feel like I do wonder about the Super Soldier Serum that one guy created from, is it Isaiah Bradley?
Yes,
his name?
Isaiah Bradley.
That's the soldier that he got The blood.
That's the sample he got, right?
Uh-huh. Was this before or after they dropped him off in Korea? Because first of all, there's nothing more badass than like I don't even need to be there. I just need that short paragraph story to just like know this dude is a powerhouse because he talked about how whole troops were going in to take out the Winter Soldier and no one was coming back alive. And then they dropped off Bradley and Bradley kicked Bucky's ass so bad that they had to replace his fucking titanium arm again. So to me, that's badass. But I do wonder if like after that, they're like, ooh, we're on to something here. And then they would have mistreated him no matter what because he's a black man in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. But I timeline wise, I'm confused about when the experimentation began in relation to before or after he kicked Bucky's ass.
It would have been after when he came back. That's when they started, sticking him with stuff and put him in jail and everything else. It was right after all that. They made it because I guess they probably figured, he's too powerful to put on the streets. So we got to make up a reason to keep him locked up so we can keep experimenting on him. Mm-hmm. And that's what they did. And they just locked him up, and it was
right. Because I feel like the 5 super soldiers that Zemo killed in Civil War, I think that whatever serum they got was probably a superior version to whatever Bucky had because he got his ass handed to him by one of those soldiers. However, their training was more extensive than Bucky's was. But anyway, I know that there are a few different variations of the serum running around and the lab that just got destroyed. I know that's not the end of it.
No, there's at least 3, I think, left. So with those 3 doses, they're not going to destroy him. Who do you think gets shot with the super soldier serum before this is all said and done?
Well, we both agree on U.S. Agent.
Yeah, we both agree on U.S. Agent.
I think Sharon might. I don't know, but that might be just like too much. Like, I already don't like that there are so many fucking super soldiers running around right now. Like, so we're probably going to see a few of them get killed off. We've already seen one. I mean, they're not bulletproof. Yet. So I mean, even freaking Steve, Bucky shot him a couple times and it definitely slowed him down. So it could be that I don't think Sharon needs it to be an interesting character, to be honest. I don't know, but I would definitely say John Walker.
I think they're really dying to do a female Avengers. Like, I think they really want to put that out there. So I think if they, you should have, I like to have, a regular Black Widow woman, but they don't have, unless they bring in She-Hulk, and they're supposed to do She-Hulk, I think they may superpower her up because I think she's going to get such a good response that I think they may want to keep her around. So she has a good chance to get it. Zemo, I think, is going to get it before it's all said and done because he
really,
because this is the ploy. The ploy is he hates it so much. He hates all these soldiers so much, but in the end, he gonna take it himself. Right?
Exactly. And what was the book he was reading in this last episode? I think it was called. Yep. So he's definitely an end justifies the means sort of person. So I can totally see him taking that serum. But I see in the chat, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your first name, but the second name on there is Mosley. He predicts the 3 people are going to be U.S. Agent, Battlestar, and Eli Bradley.
All right, so I'll go through them. U.S. Agent is correct. Battlestar, I don't think Battlestar gets it. I could see why you would think, and it seems like they both need to get it. Now, the final battle has to be between U.S. Agent, Battlestar, Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. All right, that has to be the final battle. But they're all 4 of them have to fight. That's the end. Last episode, guaranteed. So it makes sense for Battlestar to get it because he wouldn't be able to fight with any of them in his current state. So it does make a lot of sense for him to get it. Eli Bradley, the son, he does become somebody in the comic books. He's a character. The grandson. So he definitely could get it. I just don't know how they would get it to him at this time. I think, I don't see him coming to New Orleans, and I don't see him going out there. So, I know that the character is somebody in the comic books and all that, but I don't know if he's going to get it in this show. I think it's got to be Zemo. I think you got to get Zemo out there.
Have we touched down on, we being the show in itself, have they touched down on whether or not super soldier, because the only person we know that has offspring so far is Isaiah Bradley.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously, would
Steve was
those genes pass on
well.
to a child? And I think Eli's his grandson, right?
Yes, his grandson. So, they haven't done anything. Like, I'm just trying to think of the comic book. Captain America doesn't have a kid. Everyone whose powers have passed on. Yeah, wait. Well, did Jessica Jones and Power Man and Luke Cage, they
Danielle.
have a kid, and I think that kid does have powers.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's from Power Man or Jessica Jones, reason why, but I think their kid does have superpowers.
Well, they're both powered by experimentation. In the comics, Jessica Jones and her family were in the car, kind of like on the show, except it's the comics. So there was this like semi full of chemicals. They ran into the back of it. Everyone died except for Jessica, and she gained her powers through that car accident. Whereas in the show, she almost died. So some dude decided to experiment on her with this serum to help her survive. Luke Cage was, like you touched down on, he was a prison experiment. And then Danielle, the name of their daughter, she ends up with superpowers. But I mean, like in the MCU though, because I think the MCU is trying to really trying to be more true to the comics. And I want to kind of talk about how I'm having a hard time processing how all of a sudden they're going back to Zemo being a Baron rather than, it's not retcon. Yeah, it's not retcon. It's just that it's like they realized Zemo is an interesting character, but it would be really interesting if we were true to his comic book counterpart, and made him a Baron. But one thing that really kind of pissed me off about how they introduced the concept of him coming from this rich family is like, it was an offhanded comment. I kind of would have liked this comedic little realization from Sam, like, you've been rich this whole time or something, like, like they reveal it when they're walking to this private jet. It was just a lot I know Baron Zemo is rich from the comics, but that's not the narrative that they have given in the MCU these past years.
You think he's going to give the money to Sam to save the fishing boat at the end?
That would be interesting. I don't know how to read Zemo right now. I really, really don't. Like, he's amusing to watch, but I don't know. I think I'm needlessly tense during this show because I remember after watching that first scene where Sam goes and does that special mission. And what country was it? It doesn't matter. He did that special mission.
The plane.
Yeah, and then he's at a cafe with I forget the name of that other officer with him. But there was part of me, just because I know that this show touches down on PTSD so much and the military, I was bracing for someone to get sniped during that scene, and I don't know why. So I'm just really tense watching this show, but I can say I don't trust Zemo as much as we're meant to be amused by Zemo right now, as much as we're kind of meant to be endeared to him, like that little weird dancing thing he was doing. I know Twitter's been talking about it for the past day and a half, but I just don't trust him. And I'm very endeared to Sam. And Bucky is my future stay-at-home husband, so I don't want them to get hurt, So even when he was handing them food, I was like, "Is that poison, motherfucker?" So I don't know if I would trust Zemo to really help anybody out of the kindness of his heart.
He's supposed to be a snake in the grass. His character in comic books is he's a super smart snake in the grass character, and that's what he's supposed to be. So in the end, he's always out for himself. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it's supposed to be. So that's why I think he wants the serum to take it for him. So he's going to take it for him. I hate super soldiers. I hate super soldiers. You always become what you hate. And that's why he's got to become that. And that's why they have to power him up. Because I think they want to use that actor too. Right. Marvel likes that actor. And I think they want to use him in future projects. This guy says the author's name was Torres.
Right. Because he's going to run out of tactics. Because I think he's already working on sussing out Sam and Bucky, which is one thing I will say was really good writing this episode. very subtly, he's sussing out how he can get them to turn on each other, which on the outside seems like it's not that hard of a thing because, I mean, within the episode, they're like, I told you to go right. You know, I did go right. My right. You know, they're just sitting there yelling at each other. But as much as they say they hate each other and they're working together out of necessity, they actually work really, really fucking well together. And I think that eventually Zemo is going to not be able to. I think he'll do some divide and conquer later, but it's what people expect out of him. And when he can't use his tactics of divide and conquer, he's going to resort to the super strength and become something you hate. Because the bottom line is, like, he says himself in Civil War, like, I knew I couldn't kill them, so I tried to get them to kill themselves. But
and it's like you seen him do it. You seen him when he was reading up on, had the book, and he's reading. He's like, he says the name of the Asian guy that he killed, that Bucky killed, and he goes and visited his family member. You know, he's like, don't say that name, but like you see him, he's like, oh, touchy, the touchy, you know. And as soon as he meets Bucky, he starts saying the words, and then Bucky's like, that's not going to work anymore. And he goes, I knew that. He didn't know that. He was just testing it. You know what I mean? To see if
why wouldn't you? You know, like, that's the smartest thing you can do. You're like, the Winter Soldier just came into my cell in my prison. I'm going to try to get out at the first possible, you know, celebrity. Hey, people. But no, Bucky is on to him. Sam is on to him more than anyone. But that was kind of comedic when Bucky was like, I'm going to walk you through a hypothetical. And Bucky basically helped Zemo get out of prison. And Sam's like, what did you do? You know, a lot of the time, Sam is talking to Bucky. It's almost as if talking to a child, because I do think that Bucky is emotionally reverted in a lot of ways. So Zemo's whole thing, that conversation they were having back and forth about Marvin Gaye, while I think that Zemo genuinely appreciates Marvin Gaye, I think he was subtly poking and prodding, trying to get at the angle, because, I mean, we're already going for the Black in this show, speaking on the Black experience. I think that Zemo is basically trying to make this poke and prod about, see, Bucky doesn't understand what it's like to be a Black man, you know, so he's gonna play every single angle he can, but I enjoy how on edge he makes me, you know, at this moment. I'm probably gonna get really fucking sick of his shit after a while, but they will eventually power up Zemo, because I know in the comics Zemo goes on to go toe-to-toe with people like Doctor Doom.
Yeah,
I believe,
he's the head of the Masters of Evil. Zemo is a big character in the comic books. I had a Zemo action figure when I was younger because I used to like his character, his costume, because he had the crown and he had the fur on the sides of his jacket right here. Now they just give him a jacket with fur on top, but he really had to feel like a vest with fur on it in the comic books and stuff.
So I see in the chat, Celebrity Bikini said Bucky has a lot of baggage. Yes, he does. But it's not like he's been given the opportunity to process that emotional baggage until recent years. So that's what I mean by, like, he's emotionally reverted, because he's got a lot to sort through and he hasn't had a whole lot of opportunity to do so.
But you know what? I said another scene I didn't like, the stupid scene, like when they put these things in these shows, it just cheapens the show to me. You know, when Zemo comes pulling up out of nowhere with this car, get in. Like, how many times have I seen people pull up the car at the just right moment? The car has no scratches on it, has no dents in it. Get in, you know, and you jump, people jump in, and then they drive off. Like things like that take me out of it.
Right.
Like maybe not, now I have to say, if they're making this show for children, then that's perfectly fine. A child will go with that. But if you're trying to make it for someone 30 and above, that's not going to fly anymore. You got to do better. So it all depends who they're making this show actually for, like who their demographic they want to watch this show. Because as a child, the get in works. Me, that shit don't work. All right, because I've been in many situations. I ain't never heard no one pull up to me in a fucking great car and say, "Toad, leave me and get in." That's what ain't never happened, man.
See, that's the thing. That's what I'm talking about with like corny elements that I do wonder if they were on a very strict time constraint, the video editors, because there's so much of it. Like, for instance, when they get in the car and Sam says something to Bucky, like, "You're not going to pull your seat up, are you?" And Bucky's like, "Nope." That's a great moment. What made it forced was it was really like, okay, you guys have 3 seconds left to the episode because of editing. Go. You're not going to pull up, are you? No. And that they, you know, like if they would have like paused a little more, lingered on it, even if that could have worked, even if Zemo pulled up and Sam said something like, "Are you serious?" You know, like there are so many corny elements that have always worked with Marvel because someone in universe is acknowledging how ridiculous it is. So I don't know. Like one thing that didn't work for me, Zemo's mask. It's like you have been hoarding this mask in your stupid ass jacket this whole time, and then you pull it onto your face just to shoot a pipeline, and then you immediately take the mask back off. I was just like, and the point of this exercise is, you know, like it was clunky to me. Whereas before, other than that little incident on top of the semi truck where Bucky's being held down very conveniently until rescue comes, I thought the first two episodes were really, really well done, right down to, I think Anthony Mackie is an amazing actor. I think Sebastian Stan is an extremely underrated actor. He's phenomenal. These little things that, these details that episode 1 and 2 absolutely nailed, that episode 3 was like, let's throw it out the window, like right down to Bucky caught the shield at some point, like John Walker threw the shield and Bucky kind of assisted and caught the shield. There was this split moment where you could visibly see all these believable emotions go across Sebastian Stan's face for a split moment, and then he kind of just like begrudgingly gives the shield back to John Walker. It's those little moments that make Marvel great. I don't know who wrote this episode, but it wasn't working for me because I didn't feel like I could be in the episode. I felt like I was just spectating instead of like emotionally being there with them.
Yeah, you can't just go like and think that because you show the lady from Wakanda at the end, like that's gonna change everything. You know, like oh, they showed her, so now all of a sudden that's gonna change everything. You know, you can't just do like when I put it like this. When they did the reveal in WandaVision, and then all of a sudden Pietro pops up at the door from that's a different type of reveal. It evokes a different emotion. It's a different reveal. Like that's a true, like, oh my God, what the fuck moment. This one at the end with the Wakanda woman, that's not that type moment. That's just like it seems like they're trying to do that every episode. And they didn't do that in Wanda every episode. That's what made that reveal interesting. Plus, listen, this is a guy from the Fox Mutant show, so obviously that's a bigger deal. You know, you may see other people start thinking, oh, we're going to get all the other Fox Mutants, are they going to start to show up? You know, this didn't seem right to me. And it depends of how, and I hope they explain it during the show, because the problem is like this. We know that Black Panther saved Zemo's life, right? After he knew that he was the one who set up Bucky to kill his father, right? He still saved his life. So T'Challa already not forgave him for it, but didn't allow him to die. Because if he had a grudge against him, because he was going to kill the Winter Soldier when he thought that he killed his father. He was going to kill Bucky. He was trying to kill him. He was after him to kill him, to take his life. And then he came to grips, and that's what T'Challa's character is. He's a spiritual man. Same thing, you know, with Killmonger. He's a spiritual guy. He's not about like killing and everything else, and he came to grips with it. So they have to explain if he's, now we know Chadwick Boseman, God rest his soul, has passed away, but is Black Panther T'Challa dead at this moment? Right. And if he's dead at this moment and he forgave him, who are they to go after him and say they want him and bring him to justice? Right. I don't think T'Challa would change his mind all of a sudden and say, all right, go get him. Go out there and find him. You know,
they might not. The thing is, they might not still they still don't want him running around free, because Wakanda did relinquish, like, T'Challa could have very easily been like, okay, we want him in a Wakandan prison, and I don't know if they would have given him up to Wakanda, but I mean, I had heard, I don't know how official it is, but I had heard through a not so, it's not unreliable, it's just not verified. I heard they're not going to recast T'Challa.
Yeah.
Which means there's going to be a lot of focus on Shuri, which good, so I kind of wonder if it's not so much about like revenge as much as it is like, we still don't want this dude running around because he killed our king and he's a psychopath. I'm glad that they used that actress because I loved her little segment in I think it was Civil War, when Natasha is waiting at T'Challa's car and she just casually walks up to her and she's like, move before I move you. Like, she's
move,
very
move or be moved.
Yeah, she's very, like, there's something about her. She barely says anything, but she has a very powerful presence. So I love that she showed up at the end of this episode.
Yeah,
but I do think
booty too. I'll tell you that right.
Like, Bucky has a lot of people to answer to, and the part where I'm having a really hard time suspending belief here is clearly toward the end of the series, because we had talked about that part where Sam's throwing the shield and they like clasp hands together, like that Carl Weathers and
right.
and Arnold Schwarzenegger thing. Clearly they're both walking free. He got the shield, so I'm guessing they're both pardoned for whatever. But Bucky is on thin freaking ice with all sorts of world governments. You mean to tell me he's running around with a criminal and no one's going to use surveillance to notice this? No one's going to hold him accountable for it. It makes me wonder how Bucky and Sam are going to talk their way out of this one. And it also makes me wonder, like, Sam was pardoned because, I'm guessing, because he saved the world from Thanos the second time.
I guess so.
Bucky, same thing. Sharon hasn't had that opportunity. So my whole thing is, how the fuck are you going to clear Sharon's name? How are you going
to do that? What kind of pull do you have? You can't even get a loan in the bank, and yet you think you could clear this chick. Let me address something real here in the chat. They said that Killmonger wasn't spiritual. I did not say that Killmonger was a spiritual person. He wasn't a murderer. People say he's a stone cold killer. He wasn't a murderer or anything like that. So he was on a mission. He was going after what he felt was his birthright, right? Which he kind of had a point to. What I said was that Black Panther was spiritual. He forgave Zemo and he forgave Killmonger. He understood everything that Killmonger went through. Mm-hmm. He understood why he did what he did, and he disagreed with his father's philosophy. He was like, Daddy, you were wrong. You were wrong for what you did. You should have helped all the Black people around the world. You should have took this kid in. You shouldn't have left him out there. You shouldn't have done that. This was your brother you killed. You shouldn't have done anything like that. That's what I'm saying. And Black Panther was a spiritual person, and he forgave people. He forgave Baron Zemo, and he forgave Killmonger for everything. He understood. So that's why I don't think that it's realistic that all of a sudden they want to come and they want to get him and bring him in, because if he's still alive, and it all depends how they're doing it. We don't know if he's still alive at this point. We don't know if he's died yet, how they're going to portray that. You know what I mean? It all depends how they portray. If he's dead, then they could be rogue and they could say, you know what, this is what we're going to do. But if he's alive and he's still king, I can't see him justifiably saying, Zemo's out, go get him, and sending people to go get him and collect him. I can't see him doing that. That's not the T'Challa that they showed us in the movie so far. So I just don't know how that fits in, and they have to explain that.
Well, I do wonder where this is going to go, because it looks like they are giving Bucky the opportunity to talk, because what's the name of the character? Aya? I bet Mara would know.
The woman?
Yes. So the Wakandan woman, she leads Bucky to where she is instead of just showing up spear in hand, like, hey, bitches. So it kind of seems like they're giving Bucky an opportunity to explain, which is why she led him away to talk to him. And if they're giving him an opportunity, Io. Okay. So if they're giving him an opportunity to explain, they're probably not necessarily going to come in guns blazing about this. However, I would be, if I were the king or queen, if I were queen and I basically handed this person over to go to prison who killed my father, if I handed them over on a silver frickin' platter and I decided to let go and I found out they were running around free, I would, I understand. I mean, if I had T'Challa's abilities, I would probably go personally to be like, can you explain to me what gives? However, for obvious reasons, T'Challa is not going to show up. But I can see how for a while they might play off of him still being alive for now, because in the Marvel shows, there are plenty of name drops without necessarily having to have that person show up in the production. So who knows? But I do think that they at the very least want to talk to Bucky and be like, what gives? Why did you do this? It makes perfect sense that a Wakandan's going to come along and be like, hey.
Well, it's unreal. It was unrealistic where they had Zemo locked up to begin with. Like you wouldn't. Why would you put him in that country, in that place, when you had all the other Avengers and all that in that special cell? Why wouldn't he get that treatment and go in that special cell for that government? United States government, who had it in custody, would never give him up. United States don't give up prisoners. That's just a known fact. The United States would have took him. They would have put him in the same exact cell that they had Captain America. And no, Captain never got locked up there, but it's the one that had Sam locked up in, the one they had, that they would have put him in that same motherfucking cell and locked his ass up. So it's unrealistic. The cell that they had him broke up in anyway. But besides that, I think that if the Wakandans wanted him, they had him. So if they really wanted him and they wanted to lock him up in Wakanda, they had the most justifiable reason to do so. They had him. They know that he was the reason that they killed the king. Black Panther had him in his custody. There's no way I could see them saying, no, we're going to put him in a little ass jail instead of you, kid. They would have took him right then and locked him up in Wakanda if they really wanted him. He would have been locked up there.
Well, that does make me wonder how much sway they would have had over that, because I remember when they first caught Bucky. Tony was trying to plead with Steve, like, just sign the accords. There's nothing that, PR, there's no fire that PR can't put out, da-da-da. And he's like, Bucky will go to an American psych unit instead of a Wakandan prison. So I would imagine the Wakandans definitely wanted Bucky, but the U.S. government was like, yeah, no. So
he said he's gonna, if you sign this, we're gonna put him here. We won't let the Wakandans take him, but the Wakandans had enough pull that was a possibility for it to happen. So I would think that if they were going to do that to Bucky, they would do it to Baron Zemo if that's what they wanted. They would have took him. They didn't. He wasn't locked up in America. They locked him up in a different country. So if the Americans already let him go to that country, they would have definitely took him and let him go to the Wakandans for killing the king. And he's not there. He was not locked up there. So I don't understand why, if they really wanted him, he wasn't already locked up there. That's what they should listen. If they wanted to do, make this is how you do it to make it better. You have him locked up in Wakanda, and then you have the Winter Soldier and them go there and break him out of a Wakanda prison. Now you have the woman coming back to get him. It's more believable. And Bucky, you fucked over the Wakandans who helped him out. Make that dynamic. Do it that way. That's where he should have been locked up. If you wanted to go this storyline, that's the way the storyline should have came. They should have broke him out of Wakanda, and then because they needed him, and then you have the Wakandans coming to get him to reclaim him. That's how you make that story better. Instead of having him in this stupid jail, somewhere where he shouldn't have been. They should just hire me to write this. I know what I'm doing here, people. That's how you make it better, man. Listen to the Don Tony talk. I'm trying to tell you. I know how to make shit flow. That's the way it would have flowed, and that's the way it would have worked. And then you would have had her coming after him, and everything would have been more reasonable, and everything else. It would have been much better. And that's it.
I hope that she's not just. I would imagine she's along for some of the ride now, and I'm really excited about that because to me it seems so dumb, especially for a cliffhanger, to bring her along and then just be like, "Okay, just wanted to check in with you.
Yeah, I want to see her fight. I
Bye."
mean, who's she gonna fight? I want to see her fight.
Somehow I think she could kick his ass.
It's time to see her fight right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been building up. I want to see that booty working. I mean, I ain't playing. I want to see her kick some ass because that was a great scene because she goes, move, I'll be moved. And then that Black Panther goes, as enjoyable as that is for me to work with my
Because that's the thing too.
I like to see that shit. That would be great.
That's the thing too, because I kind of wonder, like, if Natasha had super strength, I'd imagine she'd be able to kick a lot of people's ass, including Steve. So she's able to go, I don't want to say on par because Bucky still whooped her ass, but I think the only reason he did was because she didn't have, because he like picked her up at one point and she's like banging on his head and all that, you know, like, and it's a good move. He's just stronger than she is. But I mean, if you're pretty sure that this woman can go on par with the Black Widow, I want to see that fight.
Yeah,
I do. I want to see her fight.
They better have her fight, goddammit. I'd be very disappointed if she does not fight, especially if they're willing to give Sharon Carter all those great fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
You need to give this woman some fight scenes too. I want to see her fight. I want to see her get down and stuff. So
I just want to see women getting idiotic men out of sticky situations, like basically what Sharon Carter did. And I think it's still horrible writing. I think one of the reasons that scientist sat there and monologued as long as he did was because narratively they wanted to make it make sense that Sharon's out there kicking ass for as long as she is.
You think she's the power broker?
I'm still trying to figure out who the power broker is. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I fade in and out of paying attention to it, but I did see somebody write something in the chat about it. The only reason I'm not going to comment on it is because I don't know enough to, and I'm not about to just like.
I think it's either her, or I think it's going to, in the end, it's either her. It could be her. It's a good chance it could be her, but I think it's more possible that it's going to be Baron Zemo in the end. I think it's him. I think it's one of those situations like Kaiser Sose. You remember The Usual Suspects? You ever see that movie, The Usual Suspects? You never seen The Usual?
See, I didn't want to say anything. Every time you tell someone I haven't seen a movie, they're like,
this is different.
How is it different?
This is The Usual Suspects.
Look. For years, a bunch of people are like, you gotta watch Boondock Saints. You gotta watch Boondock Saints. And then I watched Boondock Saints and it was the most underwhelming waste of 2 hours I'll never get back.
This is not Boondock Saints. You can't compare.
I'm not comparing them. I'm saying the last time somebody really hyped up a movie and I watched it, I feel like someone stole 2 hours of my life. And I think I'm still kind of traumatized about it.
Not that. This is The Usual Suspects. This movie. This is. Oh my God! But I don't want to give it away.
Continue with your parallel.
I don't want to give it away because you said, but it's the same situation where it doesn't look like it's somebody, but it turns out to be that person. That's the way I think. Because they don't show the power broker. They just keep talking about him. I think it's him. Even though he was locked up, he was still running the show over there. That's why he's so familiar with the situation. That's why that's why it's all about, in the end, I think he's going to turn out to be the power broker one. It could be Sharon Carter. It could be her. I could see that going down. That, she's playing that double role. Like, she's acting like it. It's going to be someone who they're acting like it's not them. In the end, it turns out to be that person. It's not just going to be someone, I am the power broker you've been looking for. It's not going to be that. It's going to be someone that's playing a role like they're not that person. Kind of like in The Wire. You've seen The Wire, right? You've seen The Wire, right? Oh my God.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Speaking of, so Carly got a text message in episode 2. Do you think that was the power broker that sent it to her?
I'm trying to think of that part. I don't know if I remember.
Because so Lord Anarchy on Twitter, he has a podcast, History of the MCU, and he is convinced that Zemo sent that text message to Carly, which I haven't really seen him speak on who he thinks the power broker is, but
it said you stole my stuff. We're going to kill you.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
so it's not beyond the realm of possibility that Zemo would have access to even a flip phone somehow while he's rich. He's rich.
Motherfuckers do full workout videos in Rikers Island and post that shit on Facebook.
See, there you go. That's just backing me up.
And they post it on Facebook. I see these dudes got access to everything in there. So
I have seen a prison TikTok video where they're doing like the little renegade dance.
I seen them do like one of them pose, when they do the pose and everyone's like doing the pose, like like, and it's like 15 people and the camera goes around and shows everyone frozen and shit.
Oh yeah. The mannequin challenge.
Yeah, I seen the fucking prisoners put that shit up on the fucking line.
Okay. So long story short, Zemo would have access to text messaging.
If it goes down to it, from what my theory is in the beginning, is Zemo is the power broker. The power broker is after the super soldier serum, and he takes it at the end. It all fits the whole profile if that's the case. It all goes right across the board if that's the way it goes down.
Right. They're really tripping about the wire.
Listen, that's crazy.
But I mean, so how much of a big bad do you think Carly is going to be? Because I think the angle they're going at with her is tragic.
She's not the bad person. The bad person, what she's trying to do, if you see, is supplies and everything else. Mm-hmm. They're in the right.
But she's slipping.
She's slipping, but she's still doing it for a justifiable reason, right? That's why she's doing it. She's doing it. She did a bad thing by killing those people, but what she's doing is she's like Robin Hood. That's the way I describe her. The bad people in this, the big bads, U.S. agent and the U.S. agent, Battlestar, and in the end, Thunderbolt Royce. That Ross, the General Ross. It would be him. That's the true behind the scenes. The Wiz from the Wizard of Oz is Thunderbolt Ross. That's who at the end of the Ross. That's who you'll see at the end. That he's the one who's been running this thing. He's after, if he was the power broker, it wouldn't shock me at all, because he's after that super soldier. And they have a TV show, The Thunderbolts, coming out, right? Which he has to get that stuff in order for that TV show to come off. If he's going to become the Red Hulk, he's going to need that. You know what I mean? So it's definitely him pulling the strings, and he's in the Black Widow movie. Yeah. A younger version of him is in there and stuff. There's a reason why they're bringing this guy back and doing all these things with him.
Well, my whole point is I think that one of the themes that they are playing on in here is the shady shit people do, like not Machiavelli. Like
Machiavelli.
Yeah, like the whole concept of the end justifies the means, because you have Zemo, who is doing a whole lot of messed up stuff from the get because he feels like he's right. You have Battlestar and mostly John Walker running around, who are going to, by the end, do some pretty desperate, messed up stuff because they feel like they're right. You see it happening a little bit with Carly. Like, I'm seeing so far this running theme of desperation right down to, it talked about that, not company, but that organization that's basically helping people resettle back into, coming back from the blip. And one thought that I had as I was watching this commercial, where I was like, something I didn't think about, there are probably a lot of freaking hungry people, not because there's not enough food on the earth, but because you're only harvesting and getting, there are only resources for like half the people. So before Carly blows up that building, she straight up tells them, like, you've been sitting on 6 months worth of supplies, just sitting on it. So, I mean, she's pissed. I can see her doing some questionable, I'm not just see her, like, she did it. She blew up a whole building, and her dude looked at her like, what did you do? And she's like, it's the only language they understand. And I think it's kind of the tip of the iceberg. It's just a common theme in this. Like, what lengths do people go to when they think they're doing what's best for this world? Like, how many bodies are left in their wake when they think what they're doing is best?
I mean, that goes to every war ever fought, right?
Right.
Everyone thinks they're doing what's right, and I guess it depends on what side you're on, if the person's whether the hero or the villain, right? It reminds me of this blip, reminds me of 9/11, when 9/11 happened. And I'm from New York, and I actually truly know people who died in the building, right? I know personally people who died in that building. And right immediately after 9/11 happened, that's the only time I ever seen in my lifetime this country like fully united. Black people, white people were happy to see you. They were just happy to see if you were a black person and you went on an airplane and a white person see you, they should give you the chin up, like, yeah, you see me, we together.
Yeah.
Jumps off, we together. That's the only time I've ever seen that, was immediately after 9/11. People just started joining the army on purpose. Pat Tillman, he passed away, NFL player, joined the army because he wanted to do something. He had felt like that was the only cause. And that's what I think kind of happened during the blip. A lot of the world came together. That's why I said it was a world with no barriers. But then you see how the politicians took it and said, all right, we're going to put these laws into place while no one's looking, so we could tap everybody's phone that we want to tap. We could do anything we want to do, and we're going to put it all to justify it because of 9/11. And I think that's what's going on here now after the blip, and everyone's coming back. They said they took away all the love. And these people are just trying to get it to go back to the way it was before the blip, because everyone was together. It was a world without borders. Everyone was helping each other. But now the borders are all put back up. So that's the way I think I look at it. And that's why I think that she's like, they're like the Edward Snowdens, like, and the Robin Hoods of this. They're trying to do the right thing, you know, and I think that but it's becoming violent. You know, it's kind of like, you start to become, and I don't think it's a perfect analogy, so I won't say it, but it's kind of like abortion people who say they hate abortion, but they go to abortion clinics and kill the doctors. Like, you hate abortion, so you don't want, and that's fine for you to feel that way, and I don't think anyone likes abortions, but you can't kill the doctors because you hate it. You know, that muddies your statement. And that's what she's doing. She's trying to do the right thing. Like what she's doing is like the abortion, but what she just did was she killed all the people. That's like killing the doctors. And that's going to muddy her statement. You can't really do that. So that's the way I look at what she's doing right now. That's the problem that she's coming into and stuff like that. And so that's what I see her character. I understand her character's plight, but I think that by doing that, she set her up to become the enemy, and they're going to use that propaganda to say, you know what, look at this person, she's killing people, we got to stop her.
Right. But I don't think that's the last shitty thing she's going to do before this is all said and done.
Well, she broke Red Wing.
That's true. Can we talk about that scene? Because I know episode 2 was really, I just loved episode 2, but I love when Red Wing was in the warehouse with them and Bucky was Bucky sneaking up or whatever. And Sam made that joke to him. Like, oh, look at you, like 2 years in Wakanda and you're sneaking around like the White Panther. And then Bucky like totally going over his head. He's like, it's White Wolf. Like, I had to pause and laugh for a good like 2 minutes about that. But I love how Bucky went to charge in and Sam's like, we can't just charge in like that. And like, Bucky's like, I have a vibranium arm. And Sam's like, and I can fly. Who gives a shit? We're not just barging in. But yeah, the whole Red Wing thing and like, like just, you know, poking at Bucky with Red Wing. And then when Red Wing broke, Bucky's like, I always wanted to do that. So when Bucky was like, I'm truly sorry about Red Wings, Sam's like, no, you're not. I like the dynamic between them. I think there's a lot that this show gets right, but
They do. And I will
yeah.
say another thing that reminded me of is when, he walks up to the little black kid, and then the little
Mm-hmm.
black kid's like said, the Black Falcon. He said, and they make a joke like, oh, what do you call him? It's not Black Falcon, it's Falcon. Do you call them the white blah 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 like that? And see, I didn't like that. I understand because I used to say that. And I think what happens is that when you're a black person, especially a child, and you see a superhero that looks like you and you're black, especially a black child, you
Mm-hmm.
want to make that person a part of you. So
Mm-hmm.
you call him Black Falcon, saying I'm black too, and
Right.
the Falcon is black, so I call him the Black Falcon. That's what that is, and I used to do that. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? I used to do that on superheroes like that, and that's why I did. And they tried to make fun of it and everything else, and like take a jab at it. And I know
Mm-hmm.
that's why they did it, but I didn't like the way that landed because that's why. Because people just want to feel a connection to something like
Mm-hmm.
this person's like me. Every other superhero is white.
Mm-hmm.
Every other one in the Marvel universe is white, except for Black Panther. All right. Before that, everyone else is white. So as for American kid growing up, all he's got is the Falcon. That's all
Mm-hmm.
he's got. So he's black like him. So he called them Black Falcon. You know what I mean? So I think that's I don't like the way they did that and they threw that down in there like and tried to joke about that. There's nothing wrong with that. Him calling them Black Falcon. You want to call him Black Falcon? Call him goddamn Black Falcon. If he's proud, he's proud. He's proud that he's black, and that's why he's saying Black Falcon. So I didn't like the way they did that one. That's just something.
I think what it was an attempt at um not focus, like Sam trying to get the kid to not focus on color, but for a lot of people it really really fell flat. Like it's one of those things where like I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I can see where they're trying to go with it, but as a half black person that is quote unquote like my experiences are different because most people look at me and they don't see a black person. I'm not going to hop on the internet and argue with a black person who has walked that walk, that like feels some sort of way about it. I the An attempt was made, and I commend the attempt, but at the same time it's like, okay, well, within the same universe you have the Black Panther running around. Like panthers are black. Panthers are literally just jaguars
Yeah, the
with
Black
melanin.
Falcon.
Like
Oh
they're,
yeah.
they're jaguars. Like every panther is black because they're jaguars that are, so I mean, and even like white, like within the same episode it was like White Panther, White Wolf, but I mean, I'm the more I talk about it the more I'm like, okay, I think the attempt was commendable, but I'm not going to sit and argue with you about like how you
No,
feel
I'm
about
just
it.
if people like it, you have the right to like it. I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like the way they did it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't good. I understand why people do that. Like I understand why the kid called him that because I literally did that when I was little. Like I would
Mm-hmm.
say the Black Falcon. I would say that, and it's a way of connecting to the character because he looks like you. As far as
Mm-hmm.
the black person, that's what it is. That's what you feel. I know that's what I felt. So the
Mm-hmm.
fact that I did it and they put it in the show, it had to happen a billion times. Like they
Mm-hmm.
must have heard that a billion times to the point where they felt like, all right, let's put this in here and
Yeah.
everything else. You know what I mean? So I just think it's a way to identify. You know what I mean? And that's what they're trying to do, identify. Because like I said, there's no black characters in the MCU. They really, if you look at all the characters, all these movies they made and everything else, they put Black Panther in there. Yes, that's one guy. Then they put this, but then they put Falcon. Everybody else is white. Everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. So 2 out of 100 is not good numbers. You know what I mean? Everybody. When they put Shang-Chi in there, there'd be one Asian person in there, and that'd be it. There'll
Mm-hmm.
be almost as many Asian people in there as there's black people once they put Shang-Chi in there. Just like that. You know what I mean? It'd be right there. So they need to have a little bit more diversity in it. And it's hard because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the characters are already established and stuff. And if you change some of these characters to different colors, people lose their shit. You know what I mean? For doing things like that. So
Well, they have a new opportunity with like phasing out old not old, but I mean like the veterans of the MCU. Like in the comics, Captain America's still running around kicking all that, but like they retired the character because Chris Evans isn't going to look 30 something forever, you know. So I think they have this opportunity to make this new wave of superheroes much, much more diverse. But I know that in the past, when we were talking about the casting of Corlys Velaryon for House of the Dragon,
Mhm.
you had said it really irritates you when people are like, oh, it's just pandering to a certain crowd. And you're like,
Mhm.
you know, there are times where pandering is okay and pandering needs to be
Yes.
done. Because, you know, like I remember, can't remember what year it was, Moonlight, is that what it was called? Moonlight won the Oscar when they thought it was La La Land, and I saw a bunch of people hop on Facebook, and I felt some sort of way over it. They hopped on Facebook and they like, that was a stunt, and they're only giving Moonlight the Oscar because they're pandering to Black people, da da da. And these were white people saying it. It's like, you know, no matter what these fuckers do, whether they're doing it because the Black person was the best person for the job or because they're really trying to push more ethnicity in there, like at what point do you just freaking do it? Like just do it. Make it more normal. Like I don't mind when they go out of their, as long as ethnic people are on the writing board, I don't mind when they go out of their way to purposefully push ethnic, more like diversity into the writing. As long as if you want to push, okay, we need more Asians in here. Get Asian writers specifically to that you know, that region or that country. I'm not saying like, okay, we need a Chinese character, so we're going to bring in someone from Japan. That's still ignorant, you know. So I mean, like, I don't mind. Like, if you need to go out of your way to strategically put more people of color in there, I'm here for it. Just make sure that you have writers to match the characters ethnically.
Yeah,
So,
I agree 100% everything you're saying. And it comes down to, you know, it's the same situation like Denzel Washington should have won the Oscar for Malcolm X, but they wouldn't give it to him because the movie was Malcolm X. But they give it to him for Training Day, which, you know, he played a good role in Training Day, but that wasn't, well, as good a role as Malcolm X. And you could just tell the politics behind it was they didn't want to give him a movie that talked about Malcolm X an Oscar and put it in history like that. So they gave him, they said, you know, basically he had to act like a street dude. You know what I mean? In order for him to get an actor, when he was able to do that. You know, Halle Berry got the Oscar when she was willing to bend over and get fucked by Billy Bob Thornton on TV on movie. Then all of a sudden they wanted to give her the Oscar for it. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Before that, she played better roles and couldn't even get nominated. So it that goes into a bigger issue that we're not going to discuss right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we can have a discussion about that, but it's a bigger issue in that and how. All right, we've been here for an hour and a half. We usually cut it off in an hour and a half. That's usually our limit and stuff. Alicia has been doing double duty. She's about to do triple duty because I think she's jumping on another stream after this.
Yes.
So I don't want to wear her out. She's got a lot going on. But if you don't know, I'm sure everyone here knows. But let me just say it again. You can always find Alicia here Saturdays when we do the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Maybe not next week because she's moving, I think, or something like that. So it could be a situation like that. But she's always Friday nights at Direwolf City on Gray Areas channel. They're discussing the Song of Ice and Fire. They just did one this Friday. It's every Friday. What time do you guys start?
9 o'clock Central Time, so 10 Eastern Standard Time.
10 Eastern Standard. Direwolf City on Gray Areas channel. So you can always find it there. And what's the next episode you're talking about?
So we are discussing Rickon, but I don't know if I'm going to make it for that episode either, unless I kind of like just sit in the corner with no furniture with my little mic and my computer, which I might end up doing. But I know Saturday for sure I will physically be moving items and furniture and boxes.
Which is the worst part of moving is that part right there.
I found the worst part is not only packing books, but you can't put all your books in like a big old tote. Like you will die unless you hire movers. So it's like all these individual totes of all these books that I own. But yeah, so we've been
until you have to pack it up.
I know. I always tell myself I don't have that many books. And then when I'm on like my 10th tote full of books and it like I'm still not even halfway through, I'm just like, fuck. You
Yeah.
know, but yes, you can find me on Gray Areas channel, Direwolf City. We just finished up our second week doing streams. We kind of we're basically doing primers for Winds of Winter predictions discussions going forward. We're trying to stick to one region at a time. So right now we're in the north. And we kind of let the people in the chat decide what we're going to discuss the next time. But we will be getting to Stannis, and Tony will be there.
I will be.
And I'm excited about it.
I'll be there for that.
So
from that, G says, "Can you do a live discussion in Rome?" Yeah, I can do a straight Rome discussion if you want. I have no problem doing that. I love the show. It's my favorite show of all time, so I definitely can get that done for you without a shadow of a doubt. Without a doubt, I have to set it up and figure out a time to get that done and everything else. Alicia, thank you as always for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad we got to do this again.
I am too. I want to say, prayers go out to DMX and his family. I don't know if he's going to pull through this one. I hope the dog does pull through it. I'm hearing conflicting reports that he's brain dead here and he's in critical here. I'm not sure, but DMX it was in the history of hip hop. He'll always go down. He's always had his demons with these drugs and stuff. And people, if you have problems with stuff, don't be afraid to talk to somebody and try to get some help. Don't get it to this point like DMX is at right now. But shout out to him and his family and all his fans, and hopefully he pulls through this and we can hear from the dog again. All right, thank you again for going. Phil is here at the end when we're wrapping up, but he couldn't do it, but he'll be back for the next one. I hope he feels better from the shot that he got, the vaccine. So thank you for popping by. If you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this. Please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay safe.